everyone, Tori the Crafty Girl here, and today's video is going to be a tutorial on how to make this fabulous keyhole scarf with twisted fringe. Now, I'm sure you've seen a ton of videos on making scarves with a circular knitting machine, and a lot of them are pretty simple. It's just essentially you're gonna knit a really long tube, finish the ends, and you have yourself a fabulous warm scarf for the colder weather. The reason I love this one is there are just a couple of additional touches that you can do that not only will personalize it if it's a gift, but also makes it look a little bit more special. So in this case, the keyhole feature is kind of a big feature. It's just, you can pull it through and you can really kind of change it up like this. And then also twisted fringe is such a cool thing and it's so easy to do. Even if you have never crocheted, I'm gonna show you how to actually make this fringe here. Also, before we get started, I do want to point out the yarn that I'm using. So I'm using big twist yarn. So I know a couple of you actually wanted to know specifically what color I'm using because you wanted to recreate this, and awesome. I think it's a perfect color match. They complement each other so well. And I just picked this up recently. This is Big Twist. I don't know if it's going to be inverted here, but it's Big Twist value yarn and the color is Candy Bowl. I got this at Joann's. I picked it up because the colors spoke to me and they, as you can see, work up very, very beautifully. I would love this as like, you know, a big sweater with big sleeves. I think it would look great. So this is the Candy Bowl. And then the other yarn that I used was this Big Twist, also in Varsity Gold. And these really do work well together. So I think that it makes for a really adorable scarf. But best thing about this project, again, like with most projects that you work on with the circular knitting machine, you can customize this for whomever you're making the project for, whether it's yourself or if it's a gift. You can change up the colors, you can change up the type of fringe, or you can add tassels, whatever you think that the recipient would enjoy. And because these projects don't take that long to make, you can make one for every single person on your list, as long as they appreciate you. Don't waste your time on people that do not appreciate you. So with that said, we're gonna dive right into this tutorial, but I do wanna say a giant thank you to every single person out there who's watching my videos, sharing my videos, liking my videos, commenting. You make my day. That is all I have to say. This is one of those things, social media can be a little overwhelming, can have a lot of negativity. There's a lot going on in the world right now. So I'm always looking for an escape through social media. And I appreciate every single one of you with all of your kind words to say. I'm gonna give a shout out to Walton's Crochet. All of your comments and your feedback, and you just make my day. So thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I will be going live once a week starting in December. I know, we're picking it back up. I used to do lives all the time. I think in November I did only 2, but I am really gonna go forward with this because I think for me, the joy that I get is from educating and teaching. And it's a lot easier to do that in a live environment where I can answer your questions in real time and show you some tips and tricks that are specific to you, as opposed to just, you know, what I think you wanna know. So anyway, without further ado, we're gonna dive right in to how to make this keyhole scarf with twisted fringe. Woo! And for this project, we're gonna be using 2 different circular knitting machines. I'm gonna be using the Addi 46 to make the bulk of the scarf. If you have maybe a Centro 48 or, you know, a Centro 40, whatever you have that you normally make your scarves out of, you can certainly use, but I love my Addi 46. We'll also be using this little beauty over here. This is the Addi 22, and we're going to use this to make the actual keyhole, or the hole section for the scarf. But you do not have to, if you do not have like a 22 or a smaller one, you could use crochet, or you could also just go back to your 46 pin and instead do a panel instead of doing a tube, and then you can make that work as well. So those are the two machines that we are going to use, and we're going to start right here with our Addy 46. So as I mentioned, this is a very beginner-friendly project. We're going to cast on here behind and front, behind and front. We are not using waste yarn. This is just with the working yarn, and we're going to go all the way around on tube setting. So we are just going to be creating a pretty long tube. Once we get back to the beginning, you're going to pop that working yarn back into your yarn guide, and then you're ready to knit the number of rows that you'll need for the length you're looking for. I used the entire skein, and that gave me 160 rows. For me, I'm a pretty short person. I'm 5'4", and this was the perfect size for me. It actually ended up measuring 44 inches long from the cinched end to the other end, not including fringe. So I would recommend, if you're looking for making a gift or, a scarf for someone who is taller, then you can extend that, whatever works for you. But I think between 160 and 200 rows are probably a good amount of rows to get a nice working scarf. Now, once you have the number of rows that you want, you're ready to cast off. We are going to use waste yarn in this project. That's so that we can get a really nice, clean finish. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the waste yarn, the contrasting color, and you're going to go around your machine a number of times. I recommend going at least 5 times. That way, if it becomes a little unraveled, you're not going to lose all of your work. But I just tend to reuse the same waste yarn over and over. So I may have like 5 rows, I may have 7 rows. The top row is really easy to remove. So just do as many as you need. And then you can just continue to knit until it falls right off of your machine. It's kind of a cool thing to do. Now, once your work is off the machine, you're ready to crochet finish your cast off end. Now, obviously you'll know it's your cast off end because you'll have your waste yarn. You can see here, mine is red, very easy to notice. And then we are going to essentially do a slip stitch of both sides on this end to finish it. So you're going to start by folding it in half, and you do want to align it. So you'll see here that I'm just folding it in half, getting it aligned, and then you're going to pick up the loop of your working yarn that is in the corner. So you'll see here I'm pulling it up just a little bit, and now you can see that one loop there in the corner. Then you're going to go to the top, pick up the loop and pull it through. You're going to go to the bottom, pick up that loop, pull it through. Do the same thing on the top, and you're going to continue that all the way to the end. Do not miss any. Double, triple check as you go. I know some people like to put stitch markers in every loop just to make sure they don't miss any. Whatever you need to do, just so that you don't miss any of those. Obviously, you can fix it after it's done if you make a mistake, so never stress about that. But you're just going to go all the way to the end and then pull the yarn all the way through, and then take off your waste yarn. And that's going to give us this really clean, pretty finish here, and that's where we're going to be attaching our fringe. Now, to finish the second end, it's even easier. All we're going to do is pull that working yarn and we're going to cinch it right up. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's actually going to be covered with the contrasting color loop that we're going to make here in a moment. I'm probably going to leave like about an inch and a half there opening because it will be stitched closed, not a big deal. And then you just want to take that yarn tail and just do, I think I just did a double knot just to lock it in place. And then you can cut and hide that tail if you no longer need it. I think I did end up using that tail actually to attach the button, but you at this point, you will not need that yarn tail for anything else. You can just, like I said, trim it off and hide it within the 2 layers of the scarf. Now for the keyhole loop, we will be using waste yarn. So we're going to cast on with a contrasting color. And then I'm using that Varsity Gold, and I ended up doing 40 rows for that. And that worked out to be a perfect size. And then I also cast off with waste yarn. And then as I showed you before, you're going to finish both ends with the same slip stitch method just to get a really nice clean finish. But again, whatever works for you. If you just want to stitch it with a darning needle, you can certainly do that. After you have your loop done, you're just going to stitch it front to back right across that cinched end. And again, whichever method works best for you. I actually just did it all the way through. So I stitched from top through to the bottom and then from the bottom back up to the top and did it that way. But you could also just do one side and then switch to the other side. And then after you've attached that, you do want to tie it off so that it's secure. And then once again, hide those tails between the different layers. Now, once you're done with that, you're ready to create your fringe. I didn't show you how to add the button, but it's just a simple stitch. And plus you can leave that off if it's not something you want. So you're going to take that nice flat end there, and then you're going to take the yarn that you want to use for your twisted fringe. I'm making a slip stitch here, and then I'm going to put my needle right here through the first loop. And I'm going to actually do a little slip stitch here with that working yarn. So I'm just gonna tighten that up a little bit and then pull it through. And once I pull it through, there we go. Now we are going to do a yarn over with the working yarn and then pull that through as well. So now that we have that secure, we are going to pull, so holding with your left hand, pull your loop to as long as you want it. I use 8 inches and that shrinks up to the size I want. So we have this. Then you're going to take your wrist and then you're going to, this works best for me. I've seen some people just use their finger, but I like to keep my, hook in there. And then I go around 28 times. Again, customize this for whatever works for you, but I found with this specific yarn, 8-inch loop with 28 turns gives me the look that I am going for. So after you have gone around 28 times, now you want to go back through the same loop you started with, and you're going to slip stitch that back in place. So you're going to place your hook right in there. You're going to take the tail, yarn over, and then pull through the loop as well as the working yarn loop, or the yellow loop, we'll call it. And then I did a chain 1 here just to lock it in place again. And for this particular project, I did every other stitch. So what that means is that in the next stitch, I can't just skip it or else it would look funny. So I'm going to go into that loop here and I'm going to pick up that yarn, again, yarn over, and then do a slip stitch. So that's the pattern. So we're going to, and again, just to go through the pattern one more time, we're going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, slip stitch, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to pull to 8 inches. And again, I recommend using a tape measure or a ruler of some kind so that you get consistent lengths. If you try to eyeball it, I promise you it will not work out the way you want it to. So once again, we go around 28 times. Just keep going. You do want to go the same direction unless you want to alternate directions, but I found that it looks much better if you do the same direction for every one of your twisted little loops here. So then we go back in once again to the same loop you started with, and we slip stitch it back in place, and then we do a single crochet or a chain 1. And then since we're skipping this one, we're going to just do a slip stitch, and then we start the pattern all over again. So we're going to do that all the way down to the end. And once we get to the end, you'll see that you have a bunch of curly cues. It doesn't look nice. It looks like this may be a mistake, but I promise it's not. So all you need to do is grab each loop and give it a little tug. You may roll it between your fingers a little bit if you find that helps. I did. And then you'll start to get these beautiful twisted fringe. The thing about this twisted fringe, number one, not only does it look professional and looks fantastic, but the durability is amazing. It stays in the wash and it just looks really cool. Imagine you could even make a little wig, like a doll hair out of this. There's so many reasons or so many different ways that you could use twisted fringe. So in a short amount of time, this should be what you end up with, something like this. Here's a close-up of the fringe. It kind of looks like French fries. French fries. And then just to wear your scarf, you just pop it on right around your neck, put your finger through your little keyhole here, pull the scarf right through, and then you can tighten it, loosen it as you need to, adjust it. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So hopefully you have enjoyed this tutorial and it was easy to follow. Let me know in the comments if you plan on making this, what your favorite part was, or if there's any other topics you want to see, especially with our upcoming lives here in December. I'm so looking forward to those. And until next time, everybody, see ya!